Alex stumbled through the dense forest, the tall trees towering over him like silent giants. His heart raced as he pushed forward, his mind constantly running through the events that had led him to this moment. He had been traveling with his crew on a routine exploration mission when their ship had suddenly malfunctioned. The next thing he knew, he had crash-landed on a strange planet, completely alone. The wreckage of his ship lay scattered far behind him, and he was in a place unlike any he had ever seen. The air was thick with the smell of unfamiliar flowers, and the sounds of strange creatures echoed in the distance. It was a planet far from home, one that no human had ever stepped foot on before. Alex had no idea where to go, but survival instincts kicked in. He had to find food, water, and shelter. He had been searching for hours, but every path he took seemed to lead him further into the unknown as the sun began to set. Casting a golden light over the alien landscape, Alex heard something. It was soft at first, a rustling sound among the bushes. He froze, every muscle in his body tensing. Slowly he crept toward the noise, unsure of what to expect. He had no weapons, only the remnants of his spacesuit and his wits to guide him. Peeking through the foliage, Alex's eyes widened. Standing just a few feet away was a creature unlike any he had ever seen. She was tall, with shimmering skin that seemed to glow faintly in the fading light. Her eyes were an intense shade of violet, reflecting the last rays of the sun. She was beautiful, but there was something otherworldly about her, something that made Alex feel both fascinated and uneasy. She stood still as if she had sensed his presence. Their eyes met, and for a moment, time seemed to freeze. Alex wasn't sure whether to move forward or retreat. The alien girl didn't speak, but she didn't seem aggressive either. She simply watched him with curiosity. Then, without warning, she took a step closer. Alex's heart raced even faster, unsure of what to do. His body was frozen in place as she walked toward him. Her movements were graceful, almost fluid, and with each step, the air seemed to hum around her. When she was right in front of him, she reached up, her long, delicate fingers brushing his cheek. Alex flinched, not expecting the touch. But before he could react, she leaned forward, her face coming close to his. And then, in a strange, unexpected gesture, she licked his face. Alex stood there, stunned. He blinked, trying to process what had just happened. The alien girl, however, seemed to take no notice of his shock. She stepped back, her violet eyes still watching him. Waiting for something, Alex wiped his face, still feeling the lingering warmth of her touch. His mind was racing. What did that mean? Was it a sign of friendship? Was it some kind of greeting? He had no idea. He had traveled to many planets, met many species, but this was different. The girl didn't speak, and there was no explanation in her eyes. She simply turned around and started walking away, her steps light and confident. Alex hesitated, unsure if he should follow her. Was she leading him somewhere? Was she offering him help? Or had this been some strange, alien form of communication that he just didn't understand? He decided to follow her. There was little else to do. The alien girl moved through the forest with ease, as though she knew the land like the back of her hand. Her every movement was purposeful, and Alex did his best to keep up. He was still trying to make sense of what had just happened. Why had she licked his face? What did it mean? As they walked, Alex couldn't help but study her more closely. She was like no being he had ever encountered. Her skin was a smooth, silvery hue, and her hair, if it could be called hair, seemed to shimmer like strands of light. She wore no clothing, but her body was adorned with markings that seemed to be part of her, glowing faintly in the dim light. They weren't tattoos. They looked almost like a part of her skin itself, as though she had been born with them. Finally, after what felt like hours of walking, they arrived at a small clearing. In the center stood a large, glowing stone. The girl turned to Alex and motioned toward the stone as if inviting him to approach. She looked at him with those intense, violet eyes, and for a moment, Alex felt a strange sense of calm. It was as if she was trying to tell him something important. But before he could speak, she placed her hand on the stone. The moment her fingers touched it, A soft hum filled the air, and the stone glowed brighter. Alex stepped back, surprised by the sudden burst of energy. The girl smiled, her eyes still locked on him. She had no fear, no hesitation. She was confident in her actions, as though she knew exactly what she was doing. Alex felt a wave of realization wash over him. She wasn't just an alien. She was something else, something far more important than he had initially thought. And that face, was it a sign? Was it a test? He had no way of knowing for sure, but he knew one thing for certain. He had to learn more. He had to understand the meaning behind her actions. The girl didn't speak, but there was a silent understanding between them now. Alex knew that this was only the beginning of something far bigger than he could ever imagine. Whatever her intentions were, they had only just begun to unfold. As the night fell over the alien world, Alex stood beside the glowing stone, his mind racing with questions. The girl remained silent, her violet eyes reflecting the stars above. What did the face lick mean? What did she want from him? The answers were out there, somewhere, and Alex knew that finding them would be a journey unlike any he had ever experienced. This part sets the stage for the story, giving the reader a sense of mystery and intrigue about the alien girl and her strange gesture. The plot is open to further exploration of their relationship, as well as the deeper meaning behind the alien customs. Alex sat on a rock near the glowing stone, his mind racing with confusion. The alien girl Lyra had walked away after placing her hand on the stone, leaving him alone in the quiet forest. Her strange gesture of licking his face still echoed. In his mind, he wiped his face again, still unsure of what had just happened. Was it a greeting? A sign of respect? Or something more? He watched her from a distance as she moved toward a cluster of trees. Her movements were fluid, almost graceful, as though she belonged to this place. She was at peace with her surroundings, while Alex still felt out of place, a stranger on this alien world. But one thing was certain. Lyra wasn't just any alien. There was something different about her. The sound of soft footsteps behind him made Alex turn around. Was Lyra, standing there silently, watching him. Her violet eyes seemed to shine in the dim light, and for a moment, Alex wondered if she could read his thoughts. She stepped closer and gestured for him to follow. He didn't hesitate this time. With no other choice, Alex stood and followed her through the forest. As they walked, he studied her more closely. Her long, shimmering hair glowed faintly, and her skin seemed almost too perfect to be real. She didn't wear any clothes, but there was nothing inappropriate about her appearance. It was as if her body was made to blend with the natural world around her, to be part of the landscape. They walked for what felt like hours. The landscape was ever-changing, each new clearing offering a fresh view of the strange planet. The air smelled of wildflowers, and Alex could hear distant birds calling to each other. The atmosphere felt alive, vibrant with energy. It was unlike any planet he had ever been to, and he couldn't help but feel that it held secrets that Lyra was slowly revealing to him. Finally, they arrived at a small, secluded area. The trees formed a natural circle, and in the center was a large pool of water. The water shimmered, reflecting the faint light of the stars above. It was peaceful, calm, almost magical. Lyra stepped into the pool without hesitation, her body glowing as the water rippled around her. She motioned for Alex to join her. Alex stood there for a moment, unsure if he should follow. He was still trying to understand everything. But he was here in this alien world, and there was no turning back. He slowly stepped forward and into the water. As soon as he entered, the coolness of the water seemed to calm his nerves. It was as though the water itself held some sort of power, soothing his mind and body. He watched Lyra closely as she stood. In the pool, her body still glowing faintly, her eyes focused on him. She was waiting for something, but what? Lyra lifted her hand and touched the water, and suddenly the surface of the pool began to shimmer and swirl. Alex stepped back in surprise. As the water began to form patterns, moving in ways that defied natural laws, the water seemed to respond to her touch, as though it was alive, and the patterns began to take shape. Forming images, Alex leaned forward, trying to make sense of what he was seeing. The images were strangely in symbols, patterns, and scenes that he couldn't fully understand. Some of them showed landscapes, others showed figures, perhaps Lyra's people. But one image stood out from the rest, a group of beings standing in a circle, their faces close together, touching foreheads. Lyra looked at Alex and smiled, as if she knew what he was thinking. She motioned toward the image in the water, and Alex understood that this was something important. She was showing him something about her people, something about their way of life. As the water settled, the image faded, leaving only the rippling surface behind. Lyra stepped out of the pool and walked toward Alex, her eyes never leaving his. She seemed to be studying him, trying to understand his thoughts. Alex felt a wave of emotion rush over him. He realized that this was more than just a chance encounter. There was something deeper here. Lyra wasn't just an alien. She was part of something ancient, something that had a purpose. But what was it? She took a step closer to him, and for the first time, Alex didn't feel nervous. He felt a strange sense of calm, as though their connection was growing stronger. Lyra reached out and placed her hand on his chest, her fingers gentle but firm. Alex could feel the warmth of her touch, and for a moment he forgot about the crash, the strange planet, and everything that had brought him here. It was just him and her, standing together in the quiet night, the stars above them shining like distant beacons. Lyra's eyes searched his, and for a brief moment, Alex felt as though she was looking into his very soul. There was no language between them, no words. But somehow he understood. Then, in a quiet voice, Lyra finally spoke. "Trust," she said, her voice soft, yet clear. "Trust in me." Alex didn't know what to say. Trust. What did she mean by that? Was she asking for his trust? Or was it something else? Before he could respond, she stepped back, her eyes still locked on his. Tilted her head, as if waiting for something. Alex realized then that the face lick, the touch, the images in the water, it was all a form of communication. But it wasn't something he could understand all at once. It was something that would take time, patience, and trust. He had to trust her, trust this strange world and its ways. But was he ready? Wasn't sure, but he knew that he had no other choice. The answers were out there somewhere, waiting for him to discover them. Lyra gave him one last look before turning and walking away. She moved with grace, disappearing into the shadows of the trees. Alex stood there for a moment, still feeling the warmth of her touch on his chest. He knew that this was only the beginning. Whatever lay ahead, he would have to face it with an open mind and heart. As the night grew colder, Alex made his way back to the clearing where he had first met Lyra. The glowing stone was still there. He sat down, his thoughts swirling. What was the meaning of the face lick? What was Lyra trying to show him? The answers would come, he was sure of it. But for now, all he could do was wait and trust that the journey was only just beginning. This part deepens the mystery of Lyra's world and Alex's connection with her. It introduces more of the alien culture and emphasizes the importance of trust, setting the stage for further exploration in future parts. The days that followed were a blur of strange experiences and growing curiosity. Alex spent most of his time trying to understand the alien world around him, but it was hard to focus on anything for long. Lyra had shown him the peaceful, natural beauty of the planet, and he was still trying to process everything. He had learned that Lyra wasn't just any alien. She was part of a much larger and older civilization, one that had lived in harmony with the planet for centuries. Her people didn't just survive, they thrived by living with the land, understanding its rhythms and flows. Unlike humans, who built cities and fought wars, Lyra's people were deeply connected to nature. Alex's thoughts often drifted to the strange, intimate gesture Lyra had made when she licked his face. It had felt like a greeting at first, but there was something more to it. It was as if it was a sign, a way of saying, "I trust you." But what did it really mean? He had no idea. Every time he saw Lyra, he noticed something new about her. Her eyes, though soft and gentle, seemed to carry an ancient wisdom, as though they had seen centuries pass. The markings on her skin, glowing faintly in the dark, weren't Just decorations, they told stories, passed down from her ancestors. There was so much more to her than met the eye. Alex found himself both fascinated and overwhelmed by the complexity of her world. One evening, as the two of them sat by the glowing stone, Lyra turned to him and spoke in her soft voice. "You want to understand, don't you?" Alex nodded, unsure of what to say. He did want to understand. Wanted to know why he was here, stranded on this strange planet. He wanted to know what role he was meant to play in all of this. But there were so many questions, so many mysteries. Lyra seemed to sense his uncertainty. She reached out and placed her hand on his, her fingers warm against his skin. The simple touch was enough to calm his racing thoughts. The lick Lyra began. "It is a bond. It is not just a greeting, but a way of showing trust. It is an invitation. An invitation to learn, to connect." Alex's heart skipped a beat. Trust and invitation. The words made sense, but there was still so much that didn't add up. "I don't understand," Alex said slowly. "Why me? Why would you choose to trust me? I'm just a human. I'm not like you." Lyra smiled, her violet eyes softening. "You are different from us, yes, but not in the way you think. You have the ability to understand more than you know. You just need to see beyond what is in front of you." Alex looked down at their joined hands, unsure of what to say next. Lyra's words were comforting, yet they left him with more questions than answers. He had come here by accident, but now it seemed like there was a deeper reason for his arrival. Was he really meant to be part of their world? Over the next few days, Lyra continued to show him more about her people and their ways. She taught him about the ancient traditions that her ancestors had followed, how they had lived in balance with the land, and how every action they took had meaning. Nothing was done carelessly. Everything was part of a larger, including the use of the glowing stones scattered throughout the forest. These stones weren't just pretty to look at. They were linked to the planet's energy, and they helped her people stay connected to the world around them. Each stone held memories, stories, and the wisdom of those who had come before. The more Alex understood, the more he realized how deeply rooted Lyra's people were in the planet's life force. But as much as he was learning, there was still a sense of distance between him and Lyra. She had shown him kindness and patience. But Alex still couldn't shake the feeling that he was an outsider in her world. She spoke to him with such ease, yet he struggled to truly understand the depth of what she was offering. The bond she had initiated with her face lick was still a mystery he couldn't quite grasp. One evening, as they sat beside the glowing stone, Lyra turned to him once more. Her expression was serious now, her usual smile replaced by a look of quiet determination. "There is more to this planet than you know," she said softly. "More than the peaceful world you've seen. There are dangers, and they are coming." Alex frowned, confusion creeping into his voice. "Dangers? What do you mean?" Lyra looked at him, her eyes intense. "There are forces that seek to destroy what we have built. They will not stop until they have taken it all. And we need your help." The words struck Alex like a blow. He had thought he was just stranded here trying to survive. He hadn't imagined that his presence on this planet could mean anything more. But now Lyra was asking for his help. She was asking him to join her people in a fight against those who wanted to tear it all down. Alex felt a deep sense of responsibility begin to form in his chest. He had been chosen for a reason. The face lick, the bond, it was all leading to this moment. He wasn't just a stranger on this planet anymore. He was part of something much bigger. He took a deep breath and looked into Lyra's eyes. "What do you need me to do?" Lyra smiled faintly, relief washing over her. "We will show you the way. But first you must trust us fully. Only then can we stand together and face what is coming." Alex nodded slowly, his mind racing. Didn't fully understand what was happening, but one thing was clear. He had a role to play in this world, and it was a role he couldn't ignore. The connection between him and Lyra had deepened. And now it was time to face the unknown together. Whatever came next, he was ready to fight for this strange, beautiful world. He had been chosen, and he would not turn his back now as the night fell. The stars above glistened like tiny diamonds. Alex knew that the journey ahead would not be easy. But it was a journey he had to take, and with Lyra by his side, he would face whatever challenges lay ahead. This part deepens the relationship between Alex and Lyra and sets the stage for the challenges they will face together. It introduces a new conflict and raises the stakes. As Alex's role in the alien world becomes clearer, the bond between him and Lyra continues to evolve, and the mysteries of the planet unfold before him. The next morning, the sky above was clearer than it had been in days. Alex stood at the edge of the forest, looking out over the vast, rolling hills. The sun had just begun to rise, casting a golden light over the land. It was beautiful, peaceful. In serene sharp contrast to the weight that had settled in his chest, Lyra had told him the truth. There was a danger approaching, something that threatened the peace of the planet. The thought of such a thing filled Alex with unease. He had come to this world expecting nothing more than to survive and wait for rescue. But now he was being asked to fight for it. He wasn't sure he was ready for that. Lyra's words echoed in his mind, "We need your help." His feet shifted nervously, and he took a deep breath, trying to calm himself. He had been on countless missions throughout his career as an explorer, but nothing had prepared him for this. A battle to protect an alien world? It felt impossible. But the bond between him and Lyra, the face lick, the trust had made him realize one thing. He couldn't just walk away. Not after all she had shown him, not after everything he had learned about this beautiful planet and its people. He heard a rustling sound behind him, turned to see Lyra approaching. She walked with purpose, her violet eyes fixed ahead. It was different today, more serious, more focused. She had always been kind and gentle, but now there was a fire in her that Alex hadn't seen before. "Are you ready?" Lyra asked, her voice soft but firm. Alex hesitated for a moment, his thoughts swirling. He didn't know if he was truly ready, but he knew that there was no turning back. He nodded, his resolve strengthening. "Yes, I'm ready," he replied, his voice steady. Lyra smiled faintly, though there was a trace of worry in her eyes. She stepped closer, and for a moment Alex saw the same vulnerability in her that he felt in himself. They were both stepping into the unknown, but they would face it together. "Follow me," Lyra said, turning on her heel and heading toward the heart of the forest. Alex followed her, his mind racing. He didn't know what would happen next, but he trusted Lyra. He had to, as they walked deeper into the forest. The sounds of the wildlife grew quieter. The air seemed to change, becoming heavier, more tense. Alex could feel it in his bones, the same kind of anticipation he had felt before a battle. It was as if the planet itself was holding its breath. They arrived at a large clearing, where a group of Lyra's people were gathered. They stood in a circle around a glowing stone, their faces serious. There was no laughter, no warmth in their eyes.
Wow.
These weren't the peaceful people Alex had come to know. These were warriors, prepared for something that was about to happen. Lyra stopped in front of the circle and turned to face Alex. "This is where we begin," she said. "We will show you the way, but first, you must understand our customs. You must understand how we fight." Alex nodded, feeling a sense of unease settle over him. He had no experience with warfare on this scale, no understanding of the alien methods Lyra's people used. But he couldn't back out now. He had made a choice. A tall figure in the circle stepped forward, a woman with dark markings across her skin. She had a commanding presence, and Alex could tell that she was someone important. She looked at him with a mixture of curiosity and caution. "You are human," she said, her voice low and firm. "I hope you understand what you are about to do. Our ways are not like your own. Our bond with the planet is deep, and we do not fight lightly." "I understand," Alex replied, trying to keep his voice calm. "I'm here to help. I'll do whatever I can." The woman studied him for a moment longer before nodding. "We'll see if you truly understand. Prepare yourself." With that, she raised her hand, and the circle around them began to shift. The glowing stone at the center of the clearing flickered and pulsed with energy. Alex could feel the power emanating. From it, the connection between the stone and the land itself, It was as if the earth itself was alive. Aware of what was happening, Lyra stepped to Alex's side, her eyes meeting his with a look of quiet determination. She placed her hand on his arm, her touch gentle but steady. "This is how we connect. With the land," she said softly. "This is how we fight, not with weapons, but with our bond to the earth. We call upon its strength." Alex nodded, still unsure of what exactly he was supposed to do. He didn't have any special powers, no connection to the planet. He was just a human, standing in the middle of a strange world, surrounded by beings who were more connected to this place than he could ever hope to be. But he was here for a reason, and he would give it his all. The woman who had spoken earlier gestured for Alex to step forward. "Place your hand on the stone," she said. Alex took a deep breath, his heart pounding in his chest, and stepped forward. He reached out, his fingers brushing against the smooth surface of the stone. The moment his hand made contact, a jolt of energy shot through him, more intense than anything he had ever experienced. It felt as if the earth itself was speaking to him, filling him with an overwhelming sense of power and connection. His mind raced, flooded with images of the planet's past, of its people, of battles fought and won. He saw the same symbols he had glimpsed in the water before, but now they were clearer, more vivid. He could feel the strength of the land, its heartbeat matching his own. For a brief moment, he felt as though he belonged here, as though this was his place. The fear, the doubt of it melted away, replaced by a sense of purpose. He wasn't just a visitor on this planet, he was part of it, connected to it in a way that went beyond words. When he pulled his hand away, the energy slowly faded, and the world around him seemed to return to normal. But Alex knew that something had changed. He had felt the power of the land, and it had accepted him. Lyra stood beside him, her eyes shining with approval. "You have begun to understand," she said softly. "Now we are ready." Alex nodded, feeling the weight of the moment. He had taken the first step, and there was no turning back now. The fight was coming, but with the strength of the land behind him, he knew he wasn't alone. This part shows Alex's growing understanding of the alien culture and his connection to the planet. The story progresses toward the looming conflict. With Alex stepping into his new role, the bond between him and Lyra deepens, and Alex begins to accept the reality of his situation. He's no longer just a stranger in this world, but an active part of it. The air in the clearing was thick with tension. Alex stood in front of Lyra and her people, still trying to absorb everything that had happened. He had felt the power of the planet, the strength that came from touching the stone, but now he was facing something else. The danger that Lyra had warned him about was real. It was coming closer with each passing moment. Lyra's people were preparing, gathering their tools and weapons, but there was something different about them. They didn't seem like warriors at first glance. They were peaceful by nature, connected to the land in ways Alex couldn't fully understand. Yet, when it was time to protect their world, they stood together with a quiet determination. Ready to fight for the planet they loved, Lyra turned to Alex, her violet eyes filled with a mixture of concern and resolve. "The time has come," she said softly, her voice steady but filled with emotion. "You must decide now. You ready to fight?" Alex looked around at the gathered aliens. They weren't like the soldiers he was used to seeing on his home planet. There were no uniforms, no heavy armor, or advanced weapons. These were beings connected to the earth, their power coming not from technology, but from something much deeper. The land itself seemed to pulse around them, as if it was alive and breathing with them. "I don't know what to expect," Alex said, his voice thick with uncertainty. "I've never fought like this. I'm just a human. I don't have the strength that you and your people have." Lyra stepped closer, her eyes softening as she reached out to touch his arm. "You do not need to be like us. The bond we share with this planet is what makes us strong. You have that bond now, too. You just have to trust it." Alex nodded slowly, still unsure. He had always been a soldier of sorts, using his knowledge and skills to explore new worlds, to survive. But this was different. The fight wasn't just about winning, it was about protecting something far greater than himself. It was about protecting the very land that Lyra and her people called home. As the sun began to dip below the horizon, The atmosphere grew heavy. The air was charged with energy, the ground beneath them seeming to hum with an intensity that Alex could feel in his bones. Something was coming. The ground trembled, and Alex felt a chill run down his spine. Lyra looked up at the sky, her face serious. They are here. Alex followed her gaze, his eyes scanning the horizon. Far in the distance, he could see the shadows of movement. At first, they were faint, barely noticeable. But then, the shadows began to grow clearer, more distinct. A group of dark shapes moved across the land, their forms outlined by the dimming light. The enemy was closing in. Lyra turned to her people, her voice rising above the growing tension. "Prepare yourselves. Stand strong." The group of aliens scattered, each of them taking up positions around the clearing. They moved quickly and efficiently, their movements almost synchronized, as they prepared for what was to come. Alex watched in awe as they worked together, their connection to the land evident in every step they took. They didn't need words to communicate. Their bond with each other and the planet was enough. Lyra turned to Alex, giving him a reassuring smile. "Stay close. Trust in the planet and trust in me." Alex swallowed hard, his heart pounding in his chest. He wasn't sure what was going to happen, but he couldn't back down now. He had a part to play in this fight, and he would see it through. As the enemy grew closer, Alex's nerves kicked into overdrive. They were here, and they were unlike anything he had seen before. They were large, hulking creatures with dark, rocky skin and glowing eyes that seemed to burn with malice. They moved with purpose, their bodies shifting in unnatural ways, as if they were being controlled by something beyond themselves. They were not natural to this world, and Alex could sense the destruction they would bring if they were allowed to reach the heart of the planet. Lyra stood beside him, her body tense as she watched the enemy draw nearer. "They are after the heart of the planet," she said quietly. "If they reach the center, they will destroy everything." Alex nodded, feeling the weight of her words. The heart of the planet. That was what he had felt when he touched the stone, the core of the land's power. It was what gave life to everything around them. Without it, this world would die. The enemy was now only a few hundred yards away. Lyra raised her hand, and the circle of aliens around them began to move. They spread out, their movements synchronized as they formed a protective line. Each of them seemed to draw power from the land, their bodies glowing faintly as they stood firm. Lyra's eyes met Alex's one last time. "Now you must join us." Alex's heart raced. He wasn't sure what to do, but he had felt the power of the planet. He had felt its strength. He placed his hand on the ground, his fingers brushing against the cool earth. The moment he made contact, he felt it again, the connection to the land. It surged through him, filling him with energy and purpose. He wasn't just a human anymore. He was part of this world. It's part of its fight for survival. The first of the enemy creatures charged forward, and in that instant, everything seemed to move in slow motion. Lyra and her people moved as one, their energy flowing through the air. Like a wave, Alex felt it too. The power of the land coursing through him, urging him forward. The fight had begun. With a shout, Lyra raised her arm, and a wave of energy shot out from her, hitting the first enemy creature. It staggered back, its glowing eyes flashing with anger. But the alien didn't fall. It roared and charged again. Alex felt the ground beneath him tremble, but this time it was different. This time he understood. The planet was fighting back. The earth beneath him shook with the force of the planet's energy, and he felt a pulse of power shoot up through his body. The enemies advanced, but the power of the land was on their side. Alex knew that the fight would be long, but with Lyra and her people by his side, he believed they could win. This part builds the tension leading up to the battle. With Alex and Lyra preparing to defend the planet from the approaching threat, the connection between Alex and the alien world grows stronger, and he begins to realize his place in the fight to protect it. The story now sets the stage for action, with the stakes rising as the enemy draws near. The battle had begun, and the air was filled with the sound of rushing feet. Roars and energy crackling through the atmosphere. Alex stood at the edge of the clearing, his heart pounding as he watched the enemy creatures charge toward them. His mind was still racing, trying to process everything that had happened. He had never been part of a fight like this before. He wasn't sure what to do. One thing was clear. He couldn't just stand back and watch. Lyra was beside him, her violet eyes shining with determination. She didn't need to say anything. Her presence alone was enough to inspire Alex to move forward. She raised her arm, and with a swift motion, she sent a pulse of energy through the ground. The earth beneath them rumbled, and a wave of power shot toward the enemy. The creatures staggered, thrown off balance by the force of the land fighting back. Alex felt the energy too, the power of the planet flowing through him. He had connected with the land, and now he could feel its strength. The same power that Lyra's people used was now inside him, ready to be used. He didn't know how to control it, but he knew he had to try. A roar snapped him out of his thoughts. He turned just in time to see one of the enemy creatures charging toward him. Its eyes burned with hatred, and its massive form loomed over him. Instinctively, Alex jumped to the side, narrowly avoiding the creature's sharp claws. He scrambled to his feet, his heart racing. This wasn't just a fight for survival, it was a fight for the very future of the planet. Lyra was already in motion, her movements fluid and graceful. She darted past Alex, sending another pulse of energy toward the creature. It was thrown back by the force, crashing into a nearby tree. But it didn't stay down for long. The creature roared, shaking off the attack, and charged again. Faster this time. Alex stood frozen for a moment, watching Lyra fight with a strength he couldn't fully comprehend. Her connection to the planet was undeniable, her power flowing with each movement, but Alex didn't have that kind of control. He had to find another way. Without thinking, Alex reached down and touched the ground again. This time, he focused harder, trying to tap into the same energy that Lyra had used. The earth beneath his fingers trembled, and he felt a surge of warmth travel up his arm. His heart raced as the ground responded, and suddenly, a thick root shot up from the earth, wrapping around the creature's legs. The creature snarled and struggled, but the root held it in place. Alex had no idea how he had done it, but he knew it was the power of the land that had helped him. He couldn't control it completely, but he could feel it. This planet was alive. It was fighting with him. Lyra noticed what Alex had done, and gave him a quick nod of approval.
"You're learning,"
she said, her voice calm despite the chaos around them. Alex nodded, barely hearing her over the noise of the battle. The enemy was relentless, but Lyra's people were holding their ground. They moved as one, their energy flowing in unison, each pulse of power stronger than the last. The creatures that had once seemed unstoppable were now being pushed back, their momentum faltering in the face of the planet's defense. But just as Alex thought they might win, a larger figure appeared on the horizon. It was unlike the others, bigger, more menacing, with armor-like plating covering its body. It stood tall, its eyes glowing with a dangerous intensity. This was the leader, and it wasn't going to be easily stopped. Lyra's expression darkened as she saw the figure. "The leader?" she said, her voice steady but filled with urgency. "We must stop it before it reaches the center of the land." Alex looked at her, his mind racing. The leader was their greatest threat, and it was heading straight for the heart of the planet. If they didn't stop it now, everything they had fought for would be in jeopardy. But how could they stop something so powerful? Lyra stepped forward, her hand outstretched. The ground trembled again, and the air grew thick with energy. Alex could feel it, the power building within her. She was preparing for something big, something he couldn't quite understand. "You must help me," Lyra said, turning to Alex. "Together we can stop it." Alex didn't hesitate. He placed his hand on the ground again, feeling the warmth spread through his fingertips. This time the connection was stronger, more immediate. He could feel the energy of the planet rising up, joining with Lyra's power. It was as if the land itself was speaking to him, guiding him, urging him to fight. The leader drew closer. Its eyes locked on them, its footsteps shaking the earth with each step. But Lyra was ready. She raised her hand, and with a cry, she released a blast of energy, sending it straight toward the leader. But the leader wasn't so easily defeated. It raised its arm, blocking the attack with a force of its own. The clash of energy sent a shock wave through the air, knocking both Alex and Lyra off their feet.
Alex
Hit the ground hard, his vision spinning. He could feel the force of the impact. But there was no time to waste. He scrambled to his feet, his mind racing. They couldn't let the leader reach the heart of the planet. It was their last line of defense. Lyra was already up, her eyes blazing with determination. She turned to Alex, her voice urgent. "We have to focus, together. Let the power of the land guide us." Alex nodded, his breath coming in short gasps. He could feel the energy of the planet all around him, and this time he understood. Wasn't just fighting with Lyra's people, he was fighting with the planet itself. The earth, the trees, the animals, all of it was connected and together. They would stand against the enemy. With a deep breath, Alex reached out again, his hand touching the ground. This time, he didn't just feel the energy he embraced. The power of the planet surged through him, stronger than ever before. He felt unstoppable, as if he was one with the land. Lyra raised her hand once more, and together, they sent a final wave of energy toward the leader. The blast was stronger than anything they had released before. A powerful force of nature that slammed into the leader with an intensity that shook the very ground beneath them. The leader staggered, its armor cracking under the force of the attack. It roared in pain, but it wasn't enough to stop it. It fought back with all its strength, but Alex and Lyra's combined power was too much. The leader's resistance faltered, and with a final deafening roar, it fell to the ground, defeated. Alex stood panting, his heart racing. The battle was over, but the victory had come at a great cost. The enemy was pushed back, but they had seen the true strength of the land. The planet had fought with them, and together they had won. Lyra turned to him, her eyes filled with gratitude. "You did it," she said softly. "We did it." Alex smiled, his chest swelling with pride. He had come to this world as a stranger, unsure of his place. But now he understood. He was part of this land, part of its fight, and part of its future. As the sun rose higher in the sky, Alex knew that this was only the beginning. Together with Lyra and her people, he would protect this world for as long as it needed him. And no matter what came next, he would stand with them, united by the power of the land. This part shows the climax of the battle, where Alex and Lyra combine their powers to defeat the leader of the enemy forces. It highlights Alex's growth, from a confused outsider to an active participant in protecting the planet. The stakes are high, and the fight symbolizes the bond Alex has formed with the land and its people.